Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Firedup Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Firedup Network, Fired Up Live. We're going to start a little bit earlier tonight. The Buffalo Bills Thursday Night Football starts at 8:15. We're going to have a good show for you, about 2 hours, 10, 15 minutes. And we're going to begin with the World Cup update. The coach, Carmen Asako, talks about Day 12 in Qatar. 2 p.m. matchups. What a crazy day. Of course, earlier on, we did the World Cup update featuring Team Canada with Carmen and Giancarlo Lino. But right now, here is Carmen Asako. Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. Welcome to World Cup Update with the coach, Carmen Asako. We're not going to talk about Team Canada. For that, check out the other show. But we're going to talk about the 2 p.m. matchups that just finished off and what matches, what drama we had. At one time, Carm, believe it or not, Germany and Spain were out. We're out of the World Cup. Costa Rica and Japan. Japan, first of all, upsetting my country. I'm going to say my country because it's the Spanish and all that. Canada's my country, but Spain is also. Spain losing 2-1 to Japan, and Costa Rica leading Germany, and then Germany coming back and beating Costa Rica 4-2. But Germany is out. Spain is second. Spain plays Morocco. By the way, my family Spanish. We have Moroccan in our family. War this weekend, and also we have Japan playing Croatia. First, let's talk about Spain and Japan game. Go ahead, Carm.
Yeah, crazy. The Spanish, I mean, statistics don't mean anything at this point. The Spanish dominated the game with the ball, created opportunities, scored a great goal through Morata. But the Japanese found some opportunities with their pressing. Spain kind of tried to play through every situation. For them, it's also about the way they win. It's not necessarily just how or if they win. And in saying that, the Japanese found a way to win, and because of the Spanish insistence on playing through everything, Japan found a couple of good goals. So Japan beating the top two probably teams in the world, in Germany and Spain, and finding a way. But again, for the Germans, it's their audacity and their arrogance that didn't get them through, especially against the first game against Japan. That's how important every roll of the ball is in this World Cup, because look where Germany's out. And at one point, you were right, Spain and Germany were out. And for giggles, I was hoping that Germany let Costa Rica win, but no.
And if Spain would have tied, Spain would help Germany get in. I figure this World Cup is crazy because you look at Belgium, arguably number 2 in the world FIFA ranking, and Germany are both gone. Italy's not even making. What's going on in the world of football?
Yeah, it just tells you how parity, and I mean, it's 11v11 for 90 some odd minutes, and anything can happen. Anything can happen the way teams play and the way teams don't play. Like look at the Germans. Musiala for me was one of the best players in the tournament, but they just couldn't find a way to score that second goal against Japan. It's the game. That's why it's called a beautiful game. Anything can happen at any time, and good for the Japanese. Obviously, they weren't favored. They didn't have a lot of the ball, but we talk about the difference between Canada not getting through and the Japanese getting through is those moments. They found those moments to find some great goals.
Let's hand it to Costa Rica. The first match, they lost 7-0, a touchdown to Spain. And thank God Spain scored 7 goals. That they needed every goal, put it that way. And then they bounced back, losing 7-0 the first game. And then even though they lost to Germany, they gave Germany a scare. They could have won the group. And unfortunately, they're gone. But let's give it to Costa Rica there also. Now, Let's look ahead to tomorrow's last of the first round matchups. 10 a.m. Ghana, Uruguay, Korea Republic, Portugal. 2 p.m. It's Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon, Brazil. Let's first start off. Who do you like, Ghana, Uruguay?
Oh, that's we remember that great game a couple of World Cups ago where the handball of Luis Suarez kind of saved the Uruguayans in retrospect. But that's going to be a great game. Ghana's been very good. They've find situations. They've been very good defensively. So that's going to be another. I mean, it's been fantastic. The World Cup has been fantastic, especially these games and the yesterday's games at 2 o'clock and these games at 2 o'clock. It's just been absolutely ridiculous. Like you said, Costa Rica being out, being in at one point and being out at another. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because Ghana's not out of it just yet, and Cameroon Ghana not out of it just yet, and Portugal's already advanced, and it's going to be interesting how they play against South Korea and what they do. So all to play for, and Uruguay probably in the toughest with that loss to Portugal. But
All right.
still a lot to play for. I'm going to say, Uruguay has been so bad lately. It's been so. I mean, I thought they were going to be one of the big players in this game, but it's going to be, for me, the Ayew brothers and Kudus have been fantastic, and Ike Williams is going to be important to this game too. And again, who's coming on? Is it going to be Suarez in the last game? Is it going to be Darwin Núñez? They need someone to step it up because neither Cavani or Suarez or even Bentancur or Valverde, they've been like all these names, but nobody has stepped up, and they don't even have a goal yet in this World Cup. So,
All right. Who do you like in that game? Uruguay.
you know what? We'll say Ghana because Uruguay has been so bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if Uruguay finds a way because they've been so mediocre and blasé in the attack, especially. But let's go with Uruguay finding a way to win.
You okay? Let's go with Korea Republic and Portugal.
Portugal's probably going to rotate a lot of players. They let's say a tie. And but South Korea needs to win the game. South Korea does need to win the game, but I think that they've just been so poor again in the final third, and Son has been very underwhelming. So let's say a tie in that game, and then that's it.
Serbia, Switzerland.
Another. I mean, these two teams have been efficient, but somewhat boring, and we've talked about the Serbs' inability to keep the ball out of the net. 3-1 up against Cameroon, and it ended up tying the game. I mean, and it's an important game. I'm calling a 1-0 win for the Swiss.
1-0.
1-0 win for the Swiss. The Swiss and Brazilians go, but Serbia is very, very potent in the attack. It's just there, and Switzerland has been very, very organized, and so. But I do think that the Swiss will find a way to find a goal in a counter situation. But the Serbs can be very dangerous. So this game could either be 1-0 Switzerland or 3-1 Serbia. But I'm saying Brazil and Switzerland go through.
All right, and the last, since you said Brazil's home and cooled out, but I expect Cameroon. They're a fast team. You want to see football played fast? Watch this matchup, Cameroon Brazil. What do you say?
I mean, I think again, Brazil will rotate a lot of players. You'll probably say Jesus. You probably see Rodrigo Martinelli. Those players, Anthony, get a better run. Casemiro needs a rest. But look who's going to replace Casemiro. It's going to be Fabinho. Look who's going to be replaced. Guillemars probably coming in. Thiago Silva probably gets a break, and Bremer comes in. This is a crazy, crazy deep team. So, and these guys are going to come and want to get proper minutes and win the game. I do see them kind of sambaing, on this day, but it's going to be important. Like Abukar and Chipo Muting are going to be key. But I just can't see the Brazilians having just going through the motions and not trying to win this game. So I see a 1-1 or a 2-2 or in Cameroon kind of going out. Although, they have all the ability to do it, but it's going to be a very, very tough go of it, because I don't think the subs from Brazil are, number one, probably better, already more talented than the Cameroonian starting lineup, and number two, they're not going to go want to be the team that loses the game for Brazil.
All right. And after tomorrow, we start the round of 16. We'll get to that tomorrow or the day after. But just coming across, it looks like Belgium has fired their coach. Carm, your thoughts on this? Belgium has just fired their coach.
Yeah, I think Martinez probably, if you can't make a difference in your player selection with youth, I think Martinez should have been gone before this World Cup. Not that he did a fantastic job. I think he's a fantastic manager. But you could see that Belgium, not only were they old, they were getting old as far as their style of play, as far as their decision making, and they were very predictable. And this was an outcome of that. I thought Martinez should have been gone, but I do think he's the one who resigned. But and De Bruyne going on record saying that they're too old and they won't win it or won't advance was somewhat disappointing for what's going to be the captain of this team at the next time.
All right, that's Carmen Asako. He'll be back later on tomorrow and throughout the round 16 here. It's just beginning. The World Cup is just beginning. And we did it before. I'll leave you with the final thoughts on Team Canada as we close it out day 12 here. Final thoughts on Team Canada.
I mean, a lot of kind of feet, cloud, whatever it's called. People are getting on Alfonso Davies. People are getting on John Herdman. This is Alfonso Davies was just someone who wanted to take the responsibility of taking this nation on his shoulders. Did he do too much? For me, yes, he did. But it was his role, and he accepted the accountability and responsibility. Will he mature because of this? Absolutely. Do I think that he's a fantastic player? And am I proud of having someone like Alfonso Davies wear our Canadian shirt and represent us as our main leader? Absolutely. But he'll learn from this. He'll learn to trust his teammates a little more. He'll learn to understand that his role will be enough. And the likes of David and the likes of Tejan and the likes of Eustachio, these are big players. The likes of Tejan Buchanan, these are big players. And Alfonso Davies doesn't need to be the difference maker every single time. He needs to find his role. And it's obviously Herdman's responsibility to make sure that he understands his role. Like he did in the qualifying. He did some great things, and Herdman did some great things for him and putting him in positions to be successful. But Canada absolutely stopped criticizing Alfonso Davies because he's a young man who represented a whole country. And we were the main person that did that. We were the main people that did that. We put that responsibility on him, not knowing a lot of people not knowing what soccer is, and I think that was unfair for us to do, unfair for the media to do, to put all that responsibility on Alfonso Davies. But Alfonso Davies will learn, will grow from this, and this will be a stronger Canadian team and a lot more mature Canadian team come 2026. Again, would I love to be represented? Is he our next captain? Regardless if he's wearing the band, yes, he is. Is he the face of Canadian soccer? Yes, he is. Does he have to accept responsibility and accountability? Absolutely, he does. But this is a young man, growing up, he still has a lot of maturing to do. But, I'm proud to say that he's Canadian, and I'm proud to say that he was a big part of us making the World Cup, and he'll be a great leader for us in the future.
All right, final question. Your buddy Marty Roberts wants to know, since this is Carmen Asako's nightly, weekly, or whatever picks here, There's Thursday night football. Thursday night football. The Buffalo Bills go into New England to take on the Patriots. I'm anxious on who's your pick in this one. Go ahead.
I like Belichick and the Patriots in this one. They're usually
All right, Carmen
they're
Asako will never be back on the Fired Up Network. All right, for that. All right, go ahead. Buffalo's favored by
I
5
have
points.
I have no rationale for this because everything I'm going to say is just talking out of my butt. But I like the Patriots because I know Bill Belichick and I don't like the Bills. That's why.
Wait a minute. You know Bill Belichick?
I do know Bill Belichick.
How? Is there something that you want to tell me here or what? Come
We
on.
shop at the same hoodie store.
Do you know A Boogie with a hoodie? Do you know that famous rapper A Boogie with a hoodie? I guess not.
No,
All right. All right, he's saying the Patriots. Once again, Carmen Asako, nightly picks is going to be wrong. The Bills tonight going to show everybody why they will go February 12th to Arizona, the Super Bowl, and they'll show December 18th. We have a bet. I didn't want to tell this to Carmen. December 18th is the World Cup final. December 18th, also, the Miami Dolphins come into Orchard Park, New York. But me, I'm the president of the province of Canada. It's Quebec wants to go to, the States or whatever. Buffalo, Ontario, Quebec, New York. We have a bet. We're going to have a bet. It's going to be squish the fish time. We're going to bet for Nino de Bersa or whatever. But Carmen says the Patriots. I say the Bills. Tomorrow we'll be back here to see who's right. I'm going to be right. I'm never wrong. All right, Carm. Any
Scott,
final?
Scott Norwood will miss an extra point to lose that game.
All right,
Scott
enough,
Norwood.
enough. Bring back bad memories. Canada lost. Spain lost. What more do you want? Making a hat trick with Buffalo losing. All right. That's Carmen Asako. Stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network. Thanks, Carmen.
Hey guys.
That is Fired Up Network exclusive with the coach, men and ladies of York University, Carmen Asako. Each and every day we do a World Cup update, and Carm's a big part of that. Thank you, Carm, for that. Now, as part of the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, each and every week, we present you FEM, Female Empowerment Movement, and part of FEM is Courtney Riddle, the Renaissance Mama. We're going to throw to Courtney right now. It's a special edition preparing for the holidays. Here's Courtney Riddle, the Renaissance Mama.
Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to 3 crazy boys and a sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some. But then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well-being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi, friends. It's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I am so happy to have you here today. Thank you for checking out the show. And if you're watching video, you can see I'm wearing my little reindeer shirt today because the holidays are slowly creeping up. And I say slowly, but they're not slowly at all. I feel like the holidays, I think I have time, and then it's like this, oh my goodness, I have so much to do, and things get crazy. So that's what we're chatting about today. We're chatting about how do you navigate parenting and being a busy business owner when it comes to an already very busy season. Now, for me, being a business owner and being a parent are so intertwined. And I try my very best for when there's times that are really busy in my business season to be maybe a little bit, not slower in parenting. You can't really take a break, but try and manage my expectations of what I have to do during then, and vice versa. Like when summer hits, I try my best to not have any huge projects going on for my business. But there's certain seasons, like the one coming up, that it can't be avoided. It's so busy with family. It's so busy with business. You're hitting end of the year. You're planning for the new year. So many things are happening at once. So how can you manage it all? I know for me, the holidays can get extremely overwhelming and extremely stressful. And I always feel like I'm planning and I have time, and then it gets to be too much. So that's what we're chatting about today. And I'm sharing with you some of my tips, some of my tricks, and really just some of my ways that I manage during this very, very busy season. So this is one of those episodes that we're going to go back and forth when we look at business and we look at family, because I feel they are so intertwined when it comes to this very, very busy holiday season. All right, so the first thing that you need to do in your business and to your family is you want to set super clear expectations. When it comes to my family, it's really smart to have a family meeting and really just chat. And maybe it's going to be a few meetings, because number one, I really like to set expectations for what my kids are going to expect when it comes to gifts. My kids are getting older, and the things they want are less in quantity, but more in the amount of how much things cost. So sometimes it's really good to have a conversation with your kids of like expectations of Christmas and, things that they might not quite get or they might get this year. I know for many years, I tried my very best to make sure any gifts that came from Santa were gifts that were nothing too expensive. I never wanted my kid to be the kid that went to school and said, "Oh my goodness, Santa brought me this." Someone else, Santa. So I always try and have kind of conversations with my kids of like, you know what, maybe you're at this, but you might not get that. Maybe you could think of something else you want, or really trying to help them realize, number one, that, the holidays isn't all about receiving, but also really having those conversations of what those kids can expect. Then when it comes closer to the holiday season of like where we're going and what's happening, I like being very clear with them of like, okay, here's our schedule for the next few days, because it can get crazy driving from one place to the other, making, you want your kids to be on their best behavior. You want everybody always saying thank you and all of this stuff. So I think having those conversations close to the day of like, all right, here's what our next few days are going to look like. Here's what I want from you guys. I want your help. Can you help me tidy up before guests come? Can you, help me wrap this present? Can you help me do this? And really get them involved in the process. For so many years, I feel like I was like magical mom and things just happened. But now, especially that they're getting that little bit bigger, I'm really going to be relying on my kiddos to help out as much as they possibly can. And setting those clear expectations are really important for your kids, because they, of course, love to know what is coming up next. But it's also a good way to make them feel like they have a say in what they do and a say in how they experience their holidays as well. I mean, who knows? Maybe they aren't interested in doing all the crazy activities you had planned. Maybe they want to sit and watch a Christmas movie. Maybe they want to bake cookies. Maybe they want to do different things. So I always love creating a bit of a holiday bucket list with my kids, and then also put in like those expectations of like visiting family. What's that going to look like? How that all works out. And I don't know about your kids, but sometimes we need to have a conversation of even expectations of what it looks like is visiting, right? Sometimes my kids go and grab their screens or something else, and I try to really explain like, hey, maybe this is a time you want to chat with grandma and grandpa, or let's play some cards, or let's do something interactive, instead of just telling them they have to, but really having that conversation back and forth. Then when you're looking at your business and expectations, you really need to be clear and you have to be upfront. Number one, of what you think you can handle
the busy holiday season. You don't want to overextend yourself. You definitely don't want to make promises to your customers and your clients that you can't keep. You got to remember that they are also in this like state of stress and chaos and, holiday madness that you don't want to add to their plate. So really, if you have any deadlines that they need to order by, you have to be very, very clear with that. If there's any time that you're taking off, like be honest with your customers. I think at the end of the day, they will really appreciate it. They understand that you want to spend time with your family as well, but the last thing you want is to really kind of, mess up somebody else's holidays because you can't handle it, or you've taken on too much, or you really just don't have the bandwidth. So setting super clear expectations of what your clients and customers can expect, I think is really important, and keeping that communication throughout the whole holiday season. I mean, I think we've all been there when we've ordered something online or thought we were going to get somebody's present and it didn't show up. Actually, one of my very, very favorite Christmas holiday memories, which I didn't know till years later, is my mom had ordered something. I think it was originally something about a Barbie. And it was coming from it was a Barbie ice cream maker. I wanted it so badly, but my mom had to order it from the States and then it just didn't arrive. Well, that Christmas, she instead found this beautiful old vintage doll, stroller, and she got this beautiful doll and she gave that to me. And to me, that's one of the gifts I actually remember more than anything. So she improvised, a gift wasn't happening, but I mean, we've all been there before where it's the opposite. You're waiting for a gift and it's not here. It sucks. The business over, you never want. You're trying your best to plan ahead for those people that might order last minute, or be super clear and say, I am so sorry, I can't do it past this deadline. My next suggestion when it comes to holidays is, if at all possible, keep a little bit of routine. Okay, so as a parent, it is so easy to be like, all right, it's the holidays, eat tons of treats, stay up late, do whatever you want. I mean, even myself, I overindulge like crazy in the holidays, and then I kind of don't feel great. Not only do I not feel great, but it's hard to, continue all of the celebrating and visiting and all the things you're supposed to do when you're on very little sleep, or if you overindulge and you just don't feel 100%. So if there's any way you can keep your kids on a bit more of a routine, make sure they're eating pretty healthy, they're getting their sleep, and let them know, yes, I know it sucks sometimes to go to bed while there's still people visiting, but they'll still have time later. So really getting that out to the kids. I mean, I remember when my kids were little, there were some Christmas days that were just miserable because they stayed up way too late. They were whiny and tired, and it's just not fun for anybody. So trying to stay on that routine for yourself and for your family is so key. Also, when you're looking at your business, if there's any way you can keep routine. So if you are putting out a podcast or a show weekly, is there any way you can prep that ahead of time, schedule it ahead of? These are some of the things that your customers and clients are so used to receiving that you don't want to just be like, sorry, it's holiday break, see you later. You want to keep that routine. You want to keep that momentum. So if you can schedule ahead of time, this is the time to do it, especially if you're doing weekly content, anything that you've said you do on the regular, you want to keep it up. The only tip I would have for that one is you got to make sure you're making time to do the scheduling. I find sometimes we think as business owners, okay, I'll schedule it, I'll get to it. But if you don't actually block out that time to schedule or to batch work or to whatever you need to do to get it done, then most likely it's not going to get done. So keeping that routine, keeping things going the way it's going, even if you're not there, that is the amazing thing about our society right now, is that you can, schedule things, it can post, it can look like you're really involved and happening, even if you're taking a little bit of a break. Okay, tip number 3 to managing these crazy holiday season is share the work. There is no award at the end of the day for you to do everything. I know parents, especially moms, feel like we have to do all the things all the time, be perfect. I just watched that Bad Moms Christmas and it was so true. There's moms feel like they have to do a billion things and just go above and beyond. And there's no rule. There's nothing that says that out there. So really let your family know you need help in the work. First of all, nothing has to be perfect. Throw perfection out the door. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. But if there's any way you can ask for help, this is the time to do it. And that's when those setting clear expectations really helps. If you say to your family, listen, we're having X amount of people over, I need help tidying up, or I need this, or I need that, they're gonna say, yes, how can I help? If you've decided, and my family did this year, we're all like, hey, we don't want to spend this huge time making a big meal because then we don't get to have a conversation. We don't get to enjoy it. So with one of my in-laws family, we've decided we're going to do a big meal, but we're going to do it really early. So there's no need to add the appetizers or all the extras or all that stuff because we always eat way too many appetizers and then feel too full to eat the huge meal. But if we want the good meal, let's do it. Everyone's going to participate. Everyone's going to help out. It's going to happen early enough that we can clean up. It's going to be done, put away, and then we can enjoy and hang out and have a good time. So no one has to feel stressed about this big meal, and everybody, happening at the right time. And oh my goodness, it doesn't need to happen. Same with my side of the family. We've decided, you know what? Get rid of the meal. We don't need it. Once again, we always eat way too much. So everyone's just going to bring a little bit of a potluck, some appetizers, some snacks. Like that's all you really need. If it's about visiting and having fun with your family and spending that time, that's what it needs to be about. So share the work, make adjustments, figure a way to get everyone involved and helping out, and then maybe it won't be as stressful. When it comes to your business, same deal, my friends. It's time to share the work. So maybe this is the time to spend a little bit of money on a virtual assistant. Maybe, spend 5 to 10 hours, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, but this be the time to, spend that actually on an app that does some scheduling for you. Maybe this is a time for you to repurpose content. You don't need to make all this huge new content if you know you're going to be busy, if you know you're going to, be wanting to spend time with your family. Make it the work is spread out. You don't want to be stuck just you doing absolutely everything. I mean, nothing is worse when you're trying to spend time with your family and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot to send that last email, or oh my goodness, I have to go do this, I have to go to that. It takes you out of the action and spending time with your family and friends. I also think sharing the work is so key because eventually you want to be able to not just be a one-person show. You want to bring people onto your team. You want to, explore what that may look like. And if you don't have money to share the work, maybe there's a friend, maybe there's someone in your family, maybe there's someone you can reach out and say, listen, I just need a little bit of help with, packaging this, or I just need a little bit of help with answering this emails. Is there any way you can help me with this? Reach out to your people because you would be surprised. I'm sure they want to help you. They want to help your business. They want to take some of that workload from you so they can enjoy the time with you during this holiday season. All right, my next tip to avoid some of this crazy holiday stress and chaos is make it easy. If there is a shortcut, this is the time to take it. Like, do it. And you don't need to make the gravy from scratch. Like, use a package. If you're gonna bake a cake, use a box. Like, once again, no one's giving you an award at the end of the day for doing all the things. And most of the time, people either don't know or don't care. They just want to spend time with you. Let's talk about wrapping presents, right? So a few years ago, first of all, I think wrapping presents it's fun, the kids love it, but it's also kind of crazy that you spend all that time wrapping for them just to rip, and then you're throwing things in the garbage. Like, it's kind of crazy when you really think about it. So I love putting presents in bags, or what I really love to do with my kids is I hide the presents all over my house. And then it becomes a bit of an adventure and a game, and it's fun. So I give them treasure hunt clues, and they have to find their presents. It's actually one of their favorite things to do. So any way you can make this holiday season a little bit easier for you, I would say this is the time to take the shortcut. Maybe if there is an app for that, maybe you can buy those cookies instead of making them. Or maybe you can do it together, making them all as a family. I mean, there's been many times where my kids made all these delicious cookies, they've eaten them, and then they've wanted to give something to people around the street or do something. And I said, well, if we don't have them, what else can we give them? Can we, give them our time? Can we go visit them? Can we sing a carol? Who knows? But really trying to make things a little bit easier for you this season, I would say, is the best way to do it. And there's no need to be perfect. I think so many of us see all the Pinterest posts, Instagram. We're like, oh, matching outfits. I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to. But at the end of the day, if it's too much and it's too stressful, it is not worth it. I try so many times every year. I love adding a little bit of like personal touches to my gifts. And I have this list of things that I need to make. And it's something that's always been in my head because I always think it's really nice to give that little something that you've made personally that no one else has. But what I find is sometimes then my list of to-dos gets longer and longer and longer. And then all of a sudden it gets to the day and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have anything. What can I do? So I have to make shift and adjust and do what I need to. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. They just want to spend time with you. They want to have a great time with you. And that to me is when I look at those experience gifts, right? Like, is there any way you can give your time? I know for my 3 kids, if they were to have a special day with mom or a day with dad or a coupon that said you can choose anything where you want to go for one day with your parent, they would love that so much more than a gift that I ran to the store last minute and bought and wrapped up and gave to them. They would like all those things better. So if there's a way you can make it easy for you, this is the time to do it. Same thing when it comes for your business. Things don't have to be complicated. If you've promised to make so much content or share or do this or do that, I would make it as simple as possible. Maybe your next content campaign is all about how you spend your holidays, how you run your business during your holidays, behind the scenes of your holidays preparation, all those things to make things simple. This is the time to do it. Make sure you have on your emails hey, it's the holiday season. I'm going to try my very best to get back to you, but I'm also spending time with my family. I think as a customer, I would love to read that, and I get it and I understand it. So I think as long as you're in open communication with your clients and your people, you're trying to make your life easy, their life easy, everyone around you life easy, then you really can't go wrong. A few more tips for making things easy with your business. I think I mentioned it before, but make sure you're utilizing scheduling apps. Maybe there's a way you can repurpose content. Who doesn't love a best of series? Maybe you're highlighting some of your old best podcast episodes. Maybe you're highlighting, hey, did you ever check out this blog post? There's no need to start from scratch when you don't have time. We want to make it easy. We want to make sure we're still serving our community, but let's do it in a way that you are not driving yourself crazy and in turn, not really providing the quality that people love from you. The next tip you need for this holiday season is focus on service. So how can you give to your family? How can you teach them how to give? I know for my kids, it is so easy to think Christmas is about getting and receiving and that's it. But is there moments that you can stop and say, okay, how can we give this season? And it's gonna be more difficult than you think. I know so many times I've like asked my kids those questions and I want them to come up with these great answers, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you really need to help them brainstorm. Sometimes we'll create a list of things we can do, or maybe people in our neighborhood that we can help, or ways we can reach out. And I know sometimes my kids now are really loving buying presents for each other, which is so cute, but I really try and guide them of like, well, how else can we give? Can we give our time? Can we give our talents? Can we, call somebody and just like give them a little bit of connection? How can we teach our kids how to give? There was a few years ago that my boys are actually pretty young, so it's probably a few years ago that we had found out there was a family that recently came to our community and they had absolutely nothing. So they were looking for hats and mitts and a snowsuit and all that stuff. So we found some stuff that we had that was gently used. We packaged it all up and we brought it over and we delivered it to their house. Well, then we noticed that the kid was probably about 2 or 3 years younger than my youngest at the time. And he also had nothing for Christmas. So we went back to our house and the boys ran around and chose all of the best things that they no longer needed. And same thing, we packaged it all up, put them in, and we went to this house again and gave them all these things. And my kids were so excited to give and to see this little child's face just light up and their family's face just light up because we were able to give them something. And it didn't cost us anything. It didn't cost us time. It cost us a little effort, nothing. So if there's ways you can really chat with your kids and get them brainstorming and get them figuring out how they can this season, I think that lesson here in life is so important. But I also think you really need to have them involved in the conversation. My husband's like, let's just go tell them how to do this and that. I'm like, no. You need them to come to that conclusion. You need them to really buy into it. You need them to want to be a part of it. Another thing we did one year, which was really cute, is there is a senior center close by that was almost doing like adopt a grandparent. So you can write them Christmas cards, or you can pop in and say hello and give a little, a candy cane and just have that communication with them. And we kind of did that, or we went in a few times and like sung when the kids were really cute and little. But if there's ways you can reach out to your community and give and teach your kids how important it is to give this time of season, then I think that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I have a friend of mine that every December she has a box, and each day the kids have to go around the house and find something that they can donate or something that they can do and something that they can give. So instead of an advent calendar opening up a chocolate every day, which I really don't need, trust me, but they learned every day of like, okay, what can we do? What can we give? How can we give to someone else? And with your business, I feel like it's the same thing. Are there ways that you can give back to your community with your business? This time of year, it's so easy to be like, okay, we gotta sell. It's holidays, people are buying, but is there any way you can give back? Is there any way that you can really connect with your community this time of year? Is there any way that you help them and reach out to them and see where they need help? And maybe that sometimes is where you can start. If you're like, I don't know how to even start this season, send out an email, send out a social media post of like, hey, I want to support somebody this season. What can I do? How can I help you? And see what kind of response you get back. You might get back none, because a lot of people find it a little bit hard to ask for help or assistance, especially in the holiday season, because like I said, we're all trying to do all the things. But you never know. You throw it out there, maybe somebody will ask you for that help, and you can find a way that you can really give and connect this season. Okay, my last tip for the crazy holiday season, and this is probably the most important one, is give yourself some grace. I know I've said it a lot in this episode, but I really want to reiterate that a lot of times what we on social media, what we see in those Hallmark movies, what we see, in the perfect Pinterest perfection, it's not real. So give yourself some grace. It doesn't have to look like all that. It doesn't have to be all the things. It can be exactly what you need. It was a few years back, my mom made this huge holiday meal, and I think she was just getting the gravy ready for dinner, and the gravy flew everywhere and spilled all over the floor. And my mother-in-law was like, oh my goodness, how can this happen? Like, Christmas is ruined. And my mom says, oh, and grabbed some paper towel and cleaned it up and kept on going, because she knew at the end of the day, the gravy wasn't the meal. She knew at the end of the day, it was about spending time with everybody and really connecting with everyone. So give yourself grace. If things aren't 100% perfect, it's fine. That's not what this is supposed to be about. With your business, the same thing. Give yourself grace. Be very honest with your people. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm trying to do it. I'm trying my best. I want the best for you. And really just keep all that communication open. Try to do your best, but know at the end of the day, looking after yourself and your family, that's what's going to make it memorable this holiday season. That's what's going to bring back the joy. That's going to take away the stress. And maybe just all together as a society, we can start thinking like, let's not give a billion presents. Let's not need to do all the things. Maybe you need to be the voice to have that conversation in your family and say, you know what? That big dinner doesn't work for me at all anymore. Why don't we try this instead? Like, hey, I know we've always give each other these gifts that we really don't really need. But this year we don't. We donate that money somewhere else. So have those conversations, be open, be honest, give yourself grace, let people know how you're feeling. If things are getting to be too much, let them know that. I think I would appreciate that so much more. There's been so many times that, like, if family's coming over, I'm just going to say, hey, listen, the house is not clean. It's not. You don't have to wear nice clothes today. If you want to wear your PJs, I actually would prefer. I actually love when my family shows up, comes to visit, and we're always and messy hair, because that to me is like, that's family. That's what we're all about. We're not trying to be flashy and anything else. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining this episode. And I hope you're getting a really preppy season. I love the holidays. Don't get me wrong. I just want you to have best holidays you can. Hop on therenaissancemama.com. Continue this conversation. I want to hear from you. What is your best tip for the holiday season? How do you get through? I would love with my audience. And one more really, really exciting thing. I have a new program coming out. So especially if you're thinking about a gift for a family, used for kids 4 to 8 to 10 years old, this program is all about learning musical theater at home with their adults. So it's a great experience gift. It's very affordable. Find it on therenaissancemama.com, and bye for now.
Thank you to Courtney Riddle, the Renaissance Mama, part of female empowerment movement, which is part of the Fired Up Network here on the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. Now we're going to do part one of Anthony K. Yes, Anthony K. will get you sports fluent with crunching the numbers, first of all, and a very special guest. Here's Anthony K.
Now you're more fluent.
It's time for Crunching the Numbers with Anthony K. here on the Fired Up Network.
Yeah, you're about to get more fluent here on Crunching the Numbers. I'm Anthony K. Sports _fluent everywhere on social, here on the Fired Up Network, on Sports Fluent YouTube. We're everywhere. So here's what we're going to do this week on Crunching the Numbers. As always, I'm going to give you the breakdown of teams. First, the spread, the NFL, the league, what's going on, what the trends are, who you should be betting on. I'm going to give you the top 3 teams and the worst 3 teams versus the spread to help you finish off the season strong. And we're going to end the show off with our top 5 picks. I've brought in a special guest to help me make some picks. So let's go right off the bat against the spread. You know, I always like to start away teams 50-50. Yeah, literally 50-50. The away team is 87-6 versus the spread this season in the NFL, which means if the away team's 50%, The home teams are 50-50. So that really doesn't give you an advantage. They're also 87-86 versus the spread. So let's take who's home, who's away, and we throw it out the window to the wall. Well, maybe just out the window. All right. Then we got favorites. Got to be careful with favorites. Favorites against the spread are 76, 98, and 6. That's 43.7%. So favorites, if you voted against the favorites, you'd be right. You could do the math. 56.3% of the time, yes, the dogs versus the spread are 98, 76, and 6. This just makes such mathematical sense. So the dogs are the ones that are getting you need if you want to win NFL betting. Away favorites. So this is where it starts to happen. If you are an away favorite, 29, 40, and 3, that's 42%. Away dogs, like this one, because it's 55.24%. Bet some away dogs. They're 58, 47, and 3, gives you a 55% chance of getting that one right. Home favorites, 44%. Home favorites, they're not working against the spread. Again, keep in mind, this is against the spread. Home dogs, 58%. That is the one I bet the most. That is my strategy a little bit. 58% of home dogs are hitting it against the spread. And just as a comparison, home dogs straight up, 35%. So they're keeping it close. They're just not winning the games. Only 35% of home dogs actually win the game. So kind of keep that in mind. But let me tell you about some of the teams that are doing well. And this is actually very surprising to me. So versus the spread, so against the spread, the top 3 teams in the league, it's a tie. The Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, and the Cincinnati Bengals, all 72.7% versus the spread. The teams you want to stay away from, I don't know that it's a surprise. I'm going to give a bonus to my Chicago Bears, who are 6th from the back. But the top 3 worst teams against the spread, Tampa Bay at 30%, Denver at 27.3%, and the Los Angeles Rams. No surprise there. They stink this year, and they're getting worse. The Super Bowl champs not living up to the hype, 22.2%, 2-7-2 versus the spread this year. So let's get into our picks. We're bringing in a special guest. All right, so those are the stats. That is what to look for when you're looking at your NFL teams versus the spread. We gave you all the categories: at home, on the road, dogs, favorites, etc. And as you can see, we brought in a special guest. Yes, it's the football expert, Fluent R. Are you ready to make your picks?
Yeah.
All right, you're ready. Here we go. Fluent Kids making its first appearance here. Here we go. We're going to start with the Thursday nighter. We have the Buffalo Bills going to New England. The Bills are 5-point favorites. Who do you got? The Buffalo Bills or the New England Patriots?
Patriots.
The Patriots. Now, if you pay attention earlier, home dog win over 60% of those games. That's a good pick. Here we go. Game number 2. This one is a personal favorite of mine. Don't let my favorite team fool you. Make the right pick here. The Green Bay Packers, coming off a big loss, going into Chicago to play the Bears. Packers, 3-point favorites. You got the Green Bay Packers or the Chicago Bears?
I'm going to say the Green Packers.
You've got the Green Bay Packers? You might not be my daughter for very long. I'm just kidding. Here we go. All right, third game. We got 5 picks. Third game. This is a good one. This is a good one. The team that beat the Bears last week, the New York Jets, up against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Minnesota 3-point favorites at home. Who do you got, the New York Jets or the Minnesota Vikings?
The Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings. All right, that's a good pick. All right, we have 2 more. We want to make this a good one. Oh, we're not going to do that game. I'm going to save that game for later. Oh, I like this one. I like divisional games. The NFC West. We've got the Seattle Seahawks going into Los Angeles to play the Rams. Seahawks, 8-point favorites. Fluent R, who you got?
I'm going to say the Rams.
You got the Rams. Okay. We'll do the Monday Nighter, and then I'll give you my picks. All right, the Monday Nighter, the New Orleans Saints going into Tampa Bay to play the Bucks. The Bucks, 3.5-point favorites at home. Who do you got, the New Orleans Saints or the Tampa Bay Bucks?
The Saints.
You've got the Saints on the road. That's a huge upset. But, hey, let me tell you my picks. So, Bills and Patriots. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills by a touchdown. So, you're taking the Patriots with the points. I'm taking the Bills. Packers and Bears. I always have trouble when I bet for the Bears, but since you picked the Packers, I'm going to go with the Bears at home. I think there's an upset brewing in Chicago. Then we've got the Jets and the Vikings. You pick the Vikings? I'm also going with the Minnesota Vikings at home by 3. I actually think they win pretty big. Don't expect to see the Mike White you saw last week versus the Bears this week versus the Vikings in Minnesota. The Rams hosting the Seahawks. I think we're seeing starting to turn the other way for the Seahawks with Geno Smith. I know he has looked great, but I think I'm with you to go with the Rams taking 8 points at home. And then the last game, the Monday Nighter, you've got the Saints on the road. I'm going to go with the home favorites. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tom Brady gets it done. That's it for this week's picks. If you have questions, it's _ on TikTok, IG, and Twitter, or Anthony K at sportsfluent.com. But until next week, tell them now they're more fluent.
No, you're more fluent.
More fluent.
Thank you, Anthony K. and special guest. We're really fluent kids. Something could take off there, all right? Anthony, we will be back to close out the show, making a little bit of change. Anthony was going to go back to back, but to close out the show, the Fantasy Grill with the Fantasy Gods! The Fantasy Gods are going to close out the show with Anthony K. But right now, another episode of Untouchables. Yes, Derek Bowles, and Derek has brought in some great people thus far, and he's going to have some more guests, big name guests coming on very, very, very soon. But now I present the latest edition of Untouchables. You got to hear this one. Great story.
Ben Davis, a really good friend of mine. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. It's so good to be here with you, Derek.
You know, we have such a long history with I. We've done so many things together, and I'm excited to hear about what you have going on right now. As you know, this podcast is really about overcoming challenges, dealing with adversity, and being better and doing more. So just really quick, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, your life before we get into the topic.
Okay. Well, I am from the state of Idaho. I went to Idaho State University. That's where we first met, of course. And I work for a large financial institution here in Idaho by day. And then my hobby is Entrepreneurs Against Poverty, Entrepov. It's a charity. You see the name right here on my chest. And we love giving startup grants to entrepreneurs in impoverished nations to help them start a business that helps their family grow. I just got back from my first trip to Africa in August, going out there to visit some of the new friends I'd made and helped start businesses with. And it was just incredible, so much fun. But yeah, I live here in Idaho with my family, like the outdoors, and love entrepreneurship, love traveling, love philanthropy. And so this just kind of puts all those three things into one.
You know, I love, first, I love that you had the idea and the vision to create this organization. My question to you is, tell us about the company. Tell us a little bit of history about it.
Okay. So as you know, I've always loved entrepreneurship. You and I have worked together on some startups, your speaking business and creating online courses, things like that. I really enjoy it. But the one thing that's really crazy about the U.S. economy is it's so complex, so large, and so to me, entrepreneurship is just not fun in America. But in Africa, great. $1,000 is plenty to start up an egg farm, a food cart, let's see, a rice business, a cosmetology salon. These are all things that I helped people start just this last August. And so I really enjoyed the entrepreneurship piece. And gradually, I started focusing my volunteer efforts more and more on international efforts. And which led me to meet a young lady named Dalise Brooks, who lives in South Africa. She is a college-educated woman who... Can you hear okay?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. So I met this young... Yeah, I'm just hearing other people talking. Oh, now it went quiet.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
You still there, Derek? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So how Intrapov got started is I, as you know, love to help entrepreneurs. So I met a senior in the university at BYU, Idaho, named Dalise Brooks. And I found out she's actually a refugee who had to leave Malawi and went to South Africa. So she's living in Cape Town. And her work permit had expired. And the South African government during the pandemic was pretty much shut down. They weren't renewing work visas. So she had no means to live on. She was bouncing from sketchy apartment to sketchy apartment and just had no way to live. But she was so smart and had just some brilliant ideas. So I started helping her out. And eventually, there was like a turning point in my life that happened one day while we were in the middle of trying to figure out how to make her successful. We had a few business ideas that failed along the way. And I remember sitting one day watching the World Series, and I had my feet up on the ottoman and I was eating a snack, and the game started going not really very well for my team. And I was getting frustrated, and I just thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? My friend doesn't have a safe place to live, doesn't have any employment opportunities. So I shut the TV off, threw the remote down, got up, and I went to my laptop and got to work. And it was at that time that God, the universe, revealed what she needed to do, which was to be a virtual assistant on a freelance website called Fiverr. And so I just went to work pounding out some ideas. We got her registered on there, and I spent about $300-400 is all buying freelance gigs from her to do different things like schedule meetings, create digital presentations, just things that virtual assistants do. And it taught the Fiverr algorithm that, hey, she is the real deal. We're going to make some money if we put her at the top of the search results when we are trying to promote our freelancers. And it took off, and she was able to make a living, pay her rent, get into a nice apartment where the landlord was decent and the neighbors weren't sketchy. And eventually she got hired full-time by an American company to be a virtual assistant. And it was just a turnaround moment for me. And it reminded me of a quote. I'd love to share this quote. It's from the book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's from the book Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. And he's talking about how he, like everyone else, I had become a slave to the IKEA nesting instinct. I even wondered what kind of dining set defines me as a person. He said, "I'd become a consumer, not a person. I was trapped in a lifestyle obsession. Poverty didn't concern me. What concerned me were celebrity magazines, television with 500 channels, some guy's name on my underwear. Advertising had me chasing stuff and buying stuff I didn't need." And so I realized,
Wow.
the poverty.
Hold on, let me stop you, Ben. Let me stop you because that's so powerful what you just shared. I mean, that's a very powerful quote, and that means that you've changed your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Poverty should concern me more than the World Series, more than how I decorate my home. And there are still nights when I lay awake at night, wondering how I can help Julie Fisher. Melissa's cosmetology serves to make more money, and that's a thing. I think it should be that way.
Well, first and foremost, I'm super excited because what you're doing has a global reach, and your vision, your mindset, and your work ethic is powerful. Let's talk about a couple photos that you may have taken when you were in Africa. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Let's see that first photo, and I really would like to tell us a little bit about this, Ben, and just break it down so everybody can understand their business, how you support it, and what they're currently doing. Because I think this is just a big deal, just on a global standpoint.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Derek. So that picture is our grant award recipients at our April Shark Pond event. So we have quarterly events where I will hit up all my friends and business colleagues to see who wants to be a sponsor, like a guest judge on Shark Tank, but it's more friendly. So we each bring $1,000 and we hear pitches from different entrepreneurs. Mostly we've been working in Ghana because I have a good friend named Prince Mensah who actually teaches an entrepreneurship class for free to people and gets them prepared. They write business plans and send them to me.
Okay.
And then we take the best ones and let them appear on the show. So that picture, if you want to show it again, is of our 5 recipients in April that won $1,000 grants each. And so we got them set up, and I went over to Ghana and went to their locations to see how their businesses were doing. And it was just incredible.
Wow, that's so exciting. And I love what you said, earlier about, providing them resources, which is American money. But when it goes to African money, there's a changeover, right? Isn't there a change in the value? Can you speak to that for a second?
Yeah, the dollar, as you know, is really strong right now. And they live on so much less than Americans do that the dollar goes a long way there. So what we would spend just for permitting to start a business here is more than enough to actually get the business off the ground. So, and the other fun thing about the project is my friends and business colleagues that I hit up to become guest judges, they get to make a friend with whoever they sponsor. So at the event, I make sure to introduce them, exchange contact information. And the world is so small now. We do the events over Zoom, so you can be literally anywhere in the world. And the best part of any of my days is when my phone pings, and on WhatsApp, the free international text and calling app, I get a picture from someone I love in Africa sharing a success from their business that day, or sending me a picture of them with kids.
Well, and I love that. I love saying, because it's not just about the entrepreneur side, which you're providing resources, but you're also being a networking opportunity so relationships can be built in the U.S. and in South Africa, which is a really big deal because, like you said before, our world has changed. It's a little bit different now. I'm interested in hearing your perspective on. Show me another photo, and then let's talk about this next photo.
Okay. Yeah, while that photo is loading up, one of the fun things that I said to someone I knew from another NGO, another charity organization, we were talking about people that they know that I knew. And I said, oh yeah, I know so-and-so. And she's like, oh, have you been to Africa? And this was before I'd been there. And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, you mean you met them over Zoom? And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to physically be in the same places to be their friend and to know them. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead and throw that picture back up there. That is George. So he is probably our youngest entrepreneur that we have helped. He's 20, and he volunteered for 3 months at a friend's poultry farm to learn how to raise the chicks and keep them healthy and make sure they're laying efficiently. So he did a 3-month volunteer service there. And then he was one of our grant recipients in January, so very early in this year. And he took his $1,000 grant and went and bought 300 small chicks and the feed and everything they needed, the vitamins, and raised them to be laying hens. He only lost a handful of the chicks, which is amazing in itself.
Wow.
And now they're laying at like a 96% efficiency rate, and he is making more than enough money to support he and his family. Because in Ghana, surprisingly, they import the vast majority of their food, even though they have such fertile farmland. The for farming and agriculture is behind, so they import a lot, and so there is more demand for eggs than anyone could ever satisfy. So it's a great business.
Wow, and that sounds like it was a very ingenious idea to produce eggs where I'm sure everybody's had all type of breakfast, lunch, dinner. They're putting eggs and everything, and I'm sure it's a great revenue generator for him and for his family. And so that's very exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
Ask you this, first and foremost. Well, I just want to make sure before we go any further, those two examples that we just had, I want to make sure that you give out your contact, maybe your email address or your cell phone number, so people can reach out. Because one of the things that I think is important, why we started the show Unstoppable, is we want to highlight people who are making a difference and who are really impacting our world, our society, and our culture, and how we take care of each other. And so before we do anything else, before we show another photo, before we do anything else, give us your email and the contact number so people can contact you, so we can continue to build relationships and get people who want to donate and support to support entrepreneurs.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, if you would like to make a friend in Africa and be part of a really fun business, then go to my website if you would. You'll see it on the running ticker at the bottom of the screen. It's entrapov.com. So like my logo shows, ENTRAPOV. It stands for entrepreneurs. The A is for against, and POV is for poverty. So Entrepreneurs Against Poverty, entrapov.com. And you'll see some buttons there in large yellow, green, and orange, which are my colors. And the buttons will take you to grant recipient request, or if you want to be a sponsor, and it tells you all about how to get involved. My email is entrapov@gmail.com. We're always looking for sponsors.
So as you know, our relationship goes back to me riding a bike across the country from San Diego to New Orleans. But based on what you're doing, how can I get involved? Like, what are your thoughts to have me either support or be a part of it or do something? What do you have in mind? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I am really excited to have you be a guest sponsor at our January 22nd event. So it'll be over Zoom and broadcast on Facebook Live at our Entrapov Facebook page. And so you'll be there. You've kindly brought your $1,000 donation, and you're going to pick out an entrepreneur and become friends with them, give them encouragement, maybe a little advice, and then hopefully this summer we'll go see how they're doing when we go back to Ghana. So I'm way excited for that.
Man, that's super exciting. And the truth is, there are so many people who have resources and the opportunity to have a global impact. And we just want to encourage you, if you're listening to our show today, the door is open. And when I say the door is open, I'm an athlete, meaning you got a chance to go up and dunk the ball and make a big play, stay in line and just keep the jersey on. I'm pretty transparent. I want you to realize, like, we need to be thinking resources, the same opportunities, and the same technology and infrastructure that we have in the United States. Stop that for a second. I would like to just take a look, and you can tell me what's the next photo, and I really want you to break down this next photo and really explain what's happening, because I want everybody to get a feel for the history of this photo.
Okay, so on the right there, it's showing Julie of Julie's Rice. So she has a business where she delivers rice through the neighborhoods using what I call the truck business model. So on top of the car, she has mounted a big speaker and a recorded local rice. She's one of the few who has a car, so she will drive to the rice fields 2-3 hours with rice, and then bring it back and put it into individual packaging. And then she drives slowly through the neighborhoods, and with her pay system announces she's there, and people come out and buy their week's worth of rice, so they don't have to either walk or take a bus ride to buy their heavy rice at the store several miles away. So it's just a genius business model that works so well there in Africa.
Well, and I love, I love the support, but I love her ingenuity to use the microphone to let everybody know, I got rice. And if you want to get dinner tonight, you may want to come so we can eat.
Yeah.
That me speaks to, sometimes we in situations where we don't have everything we need, but we have to find solutions so that we can get people to engage and know, like you said, the ice cream truck model, that the ice cream truck is driving by, but in this case, it's the rice truck.
Yep, exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, the inventiveness of these entrepreneurs is something that I love. The businesses are just so creative, and it's their ideas. So it's not like us coming from America saying this is how business should be done, because they have a better way. They know that the people are so smart that I work with. They just need a little hand up, and then they take off from there.
Man, that's powerful. And it's interesting because you showed the first photo, you showed the guy, you said, was it 15 chicks that he purchased, or was it 25?
300, and he lost only 5, raising them to maturity 5 months later.
Wow. See, you see how small my mind is? I thought it was 25. It was 300, and he only lost 5. That says a lot. That says that his care for those chicks were unbelievable. And not only was it unbelievable, now they're restoring it. They always say whatever you invest will it'll go full circle, and it'll double when it comes back around. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's really fun now because these last 2 entrepreneurs we've seen pictures of, they've been in their business for almost a year. And so George just recently bought 400 more chicks. So eventually he'll have a flock of about 700. And Julie is saving up her money because she wants to buy a big truck so that she can have more rice and set up distributors under her. So we're currently looking to help her find an investor that wants to earn 5, 6, 7% return on a business auto loan. and then she will be able to expand operations as well. So it's fun that we helped them get started, but then they're taking it to the next level.
Oh yeah, and I love the fact that it sounds like she wants to really get other people under her to build other regions so it can go really across South Africa. Is that fair, or am I being confused on what the vision is?
No, you are exactly right. When I went, it's Ghana. When I was in Ghana, we would travel the roads and they're dirt roads with lots of deep ruts, and people selling on the side of the road just everywhere you went. If we ever got hungry or thirsty, if traffic got busy, you just rolled the window down and put some Ghana CDs as their currency out the window, and you could get whatever you need. So it's just such a different economy, and it's just fun to learn how it works. So I am pretty fluent in the South African rand is their currency, the CD from Ghana, and then Nigeria, they use Nadira. And so the exchange rates are, different, but it's so fun to learn more about other countries and how their economies work.
Yeah, and that's powerful because it gives you a different perspective on having that international experience, and now you get a better understanding of, sometimes, especially here in the United States, we're spoiled, like we're spoiled, and so we need to be thinking about if we have opportunities and resources and things that we can provide, especially to countries. We need to be diligent in trying to be ways to make that happen, and that's what I love about it. I think it is an unstoppable moment. It's an unstoppable mindset. It's an unstoppable vision, and not only that, it's an unstoppable. As you move forward, there's no telling how many communities across the country of Africa you're going to be able to help. Which, at the end of the day, that's about. Is that fair?
Yeah. Absolutely. There are so many good people here in the US that want to be part of this when they realize just how easy it is to make a friend there and to get involved in a fun business. And so we've grown a lot. When I started this in early January of this year, I thought I'd help maybe 2 or 3 people during the year, and it would be a fun little side project. But Prince there in Ghana and Dalise in South Africa had such a bigger vision. We've helped 19 entrepreneurs so far here. And at the event in January, we have several more that will be there. So one of the people you might be able to sponsor is a guy named Adam in Nigeria, and he is a master leather craftsman. And right now he uses a mechanical sewing machine to make his bags and cases. And he's just asking for a grant so that he can buy a couple of electric machines that he'll be able to do the work 10 times faster. I have videos at intrapop.com of him using this old-fashioned mechanical machine and sewing away and making some really amazing stuff. But it's going to be fun to see what he can do with some really good tools.
Wow. Well, I'm interested in doing some more reasons, like a guy that not only I can support, but I may want to get a jacket or a hat or something from him if he can create something like that. But yeah, man, I'm always excited, and I want to talk about something else. So let's talk a little bit about the exchange rate or the revenue. Meaning, like, I know the American dollar is at a high level. So when we look at the exchange rate in South Africa, and what they need to have a life, have transportation, have a job, generate revenue, support their family, can you kind of break that down so everybody can get a better feel? Because for me, I traveled, like, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to Japan, I've been to Australia, but I've never been to South Africa. And there's education that can happen in our show right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So the people that I have been working mostly with in a city called Ashaiman, they typically live on $300 to $400, maybe $500 a month max total is what they're living. And their homes do have electricity and some running water. Of course, like I said, all the streets are dirt, but they live very humbly, but they're very happy, very grateful for everything they have. And so you can imagine how much a $1,000 grant will do if you're used to living on $300 a month. It's big. It's very big. And if you think the US inflation is bad, oh man, it's so much worse in Africa right now. Because of course we impact the whole world. The US dollar is the global currency. And so when we have inflation, they feel it even worse in Africa.
Wow. And so, you say they feel it even worse. So does that impact gas and food and things being purchased on a day-to-day basis? Is that part of it?
Yep. Fuel is very expensive there, and housing is something that there's a huge shortage of, especially in South Africa, Cape Town, and then in Ghana, the suburbs of Accra. We're one of the things that Prince is working on that's really a fun idea is what's called SIP housing. They're structured insulated panels. And so right now he is looking for an investor that wants to go and build 2-bedroom houses for $20,000 total, and they can be assembled in a week with relatively unskilled laborers and no heavy equipment. So those are the kind of things that we can do, and you don't have to be a millionaire to start to get involved in some of these fun projects. If we can find Prince an investor that's willing to put up $20,000 to build a model home there in Ghana, I'll be on the next plane I can get over there to help build it and take you with me, Derek. But those are the kind of fun things that we can do now that the world is so small and so connected, and make a difference and have some amazing friendships around the world.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's powerful, and I love your commitment and your dedication. And again, obviously, we haven't talked about faith yet, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about faith, and because as you know, I always try to tell my story about all of the health challenges that I've experienced, and here I am smiling, letting you know that I'm still going. And I want you to talk a little bit about your faith in being able to start this nonprofit organization, and even though you weren't sure what was going to happen, I want you to kind of break it down so people who are tuning in and watching the show can get a better feel how important it is to have faith.
Yeah, God has very much been a part of this journey. Prince and Dalise and I often pray about decisions that we're making. In early January of this year, when we first kicked this off, like I said, I thought it was going to be small, but I've said to my wife before, the doors keep flying open and I have no choice but to walk through. And that's why this thing is growing so fast, because God is moving people to become sponsors, to want to get involved, and just making the path. So there's no telling where this is going to go, because it's so scalable. All you need is an American with $1,000 and a good heart, and they're going to make a friend and do amazing things. So yeah, God has been very much a part of this, and he's opening the doors, and there's no way this would be growing as fast as it is if he wasn't part of that.
Man, and that's so encouraging and that's so uplifting. And, one of the things that I've been saying as of late is allow God to be God. And I think we try to figure it out ourselves, and we try to come up with solutions, and we try to pretend like we're going to grow at an unbelievable rate. But at the end of the day, God has the last say on what doors will be open and what doors that will be closed. And so, honoring God and having faith is unbelievable. And I appreciate you taking the time to share that, because I think sometimes, especially when we're in a time where we're not sure what's going to happen, I think we get nervous and then we're afraid to take a step instead of just stepping and letting God decide what's going to happen. Is that how you feel? How you feel about that?
I feel the same. One of the things that I often say to my kids is, if you really want to feel God's love, then try to feel how much he loves the people you're serving and you're helping. My prayers now are really trying to figure out how to help Julie or George in Africa. And I have very strong confidence that those prayers are going to be answered because they're not selfish. And I feel God's love so much stronger for them. And that's beautiful for me too. It doesn't have to be directed at me. I remember when I was a lot more immature in my faith, I would pray, "Do you love me, God? Help me to feel this overwhelming love you have for me. Me. And the truth is, if you lose yourself in the service of others, that's how you find yourself. And I've never been more full of joy than loving the people that God loves and being allowed to feel how much he loves them.
Man, that is so encouraging, and I love your statement. Sometimes we get in this situation where all we can think about is ourselves, and the truth is we probably have more gifts than we know. And if we compare it to third world countries, or people in South Africa or Taiwan or wherever, sometimes we're just taken care of at a very high level when we could be being a servant and helping, which is the biggest thing that we can do, right? I think we both agree on that.
Yeah, this is the cure for all first world problems. I like to do first world problem cartoons and jokes on my social media. And one of the ones that really cracked me up during the pandemic was two rich guys standing out on a balcony with cocktails saying, "Oh, I can't wait till this is all over." And, it's,
right.
We have so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, and do we have another photo that we can take a look at? Is there another photo that you shared so we can talk a little bit about that for a second?
Yes, there is. We should have. Oh, yep. So this is Julie's car, and this helps you be able to see the ice cream truck business model in action with that speaker on the top playing the information about the local rice. And this is one of the main markets.
Okay, so
in Ghana.
And the funny thing is, see, I'm so.
Oh yeah, here we go.
There you go.
So, yep. So this is Solace, and she has been a trained cosmetologist for 30 years, and most of that time she hasn't had a salon. She would actually have to hop on a bus and go to her client's home to give her services, which really eats into her profits and her ability to have more clients. So she got a grant in April of this year and set up her own little salon. They call them container stores. They're in Africa. So they're like half of a shipping container with a door and windows cut into it, and you can lock them up tight at night. And they're just on the side of the dirt road there. And so she can comfortably fit two people in there, her and a client, to sit down, and she'll do their hair, their nails, whatever they need. And so she's been able to provide for her and her children. So she's a single mom. and she's just doing
Wow.
amazing work. And right now she is
And
paying
just
it forward. Right now she's volunteering to help teachers in that training class that Prince Mensah offers on entrepreneur.
okay, no, that's great. And I just had a question, was just more personal. How many children does she have? Just out of curiosity.
I believe it's 3. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so now she is not only paying it forward, but now she's generating revenue to support her and her family. And she wants to continue to build it.
Yeah, one of the happiest moments in my life was during an interview with her where she says, "I'm going up and I'm not going to go back. After 30 years, I've got my own place here and I'm so happy." So that's, one of those moments that I live for. I remember another one too. This was with Dalisay, the very first entrepreneur we helped. And she sometimes takes care of her little niece. And when I'm on a Zoom call with Dalisay, her cute little 4-year-old niece will pop into the screen and say hi. And one day we were talking, and her niece whispers in Dalisay's ear something that I didn't hear. And Dalisay said, "Oh, she wants to know when we're going to get ice cream, because we can afford to go get ice cream now." And I mean, you could not have given me any happier moment than that.
Well, as soon as you told me that, I got goosebumps on my arm, because the truth is, that means that you're impacting that young person, and she doesn't even know that her family is an entrepreneur and they're doing a business, and now they have the resources to go get ice cream. But the fact that doesn't really matter. I can tell by your spirit, and it's just powerful what you're doing. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. I appreciate us having this conversation. And I think it's something that, we need to be thinking about again on a global scale. I think there's a lot of people who have resources across the United States who are, taken care of at a very high level, and not realizing that we have different, expectations of our own personal journey. So I just want to encourage people to really think about what we're saying. Think about how you can get involved. Think about the $1,000 donation. Think about the entrepreneurs you can help. Think about traveling to South Africa whenever you're comfortable. I think there's so many things that are floating around in the universe that we have to really, wrap our mind around. And then not only that, and then this is the biggest thing that nobody wants to talk about, and then execute. And when I say execute, I mean, okay, I want to give $1,000. I want to support. I want to connect with the entrepreneur in South Africa. I want to go to Ghana. What are the options, and how can I give the money, and how can I build this relationship, and how can I start to network, and how can I expand my reach, and how can I become a person who doesn't just have resources and is not at their best, but a person who has resources and who wants to serve and help the world be better. Man, I had to have a moment, right? I kind of went crazy for a second, but I had to, because I really want people to hear what I'm saying. And what you're doing, Ben, is powerful. And so, is there another photo? Do we have another photo, or is that all our photos?
I think that might be it. One thing I wanted to share is that we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So not only does 100% every penny of your donation go to the entrepreneur you sponsor, I just eat the overhead, which I'm happy to do, but also it's tax deductible. So 501c3 Enterprise, I'll get you your tax form after you are a sponsor. And all your money goes to the sponsor you pick, and you are right there with them every step of the way to watch their success.
Man, that's powerful, and I want to give you, about 30 to 40 seconds to share anything else that you think is relevant, anything you would like the audience to hear, anything you want them to know, because again, you have an unstoppable mindset you've brought to the table, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to brand the word unstoppable. So whenever you see me wearing this hat, see this sweatshirt, or I got a bunch of gear that has unstoppable on it, I want people to realize, like, when you go above and beyond, and it's not just about you, it's about other people, it impacts people generation after generation after generation after generation. And so I just want people to realize that's super important. That's why I wanted to have this show. I'm going to give you, starting right now, you got 40 seconds to share what you want to share.
Okay. Well, we would love to have you make a friend across the world. And if you would like to become a sponsor at our next event, January 22nd, 2023, go to entropov.com or email entropov@gmail.com and just let me know. To reach out to you. What quotes is, the things we own end up owning us. And so I'm going to be happy to take my boat fund to January 22nd's event and give it away to an entrepreneur and not buy a boat, so I don't have to service that thing, store that thing, repair it. That's waste. Don't need that, but I do need more friends in Africa and more smiles and amazing text message during the day sharing their success.
Ben, you are phenomenal, Ben, and I just want you to know that I'm looking forward to showing up on the 22nd and being a part of it, and seeing if I can mentor and be a part of supporting an entrepreneur. And just thank you very much for being on the Unstoppable Show. I appreciate your time, and thank you again, my friend.
Thank you, Derek, and God bless you. Appreciate all the good work you do.
Thank you. So I'm just going to transfer for a second. So one of our next guests is a really good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. We had a number of opportunities to connect. 25 years as the head coach of Louisiana State University. He is Dale Brown. And I talked to him this morning, and he's told me, he said, Derek, the truth is the truth. And I say that because that's how we're going to start our conversation when we get together on the next Unstoppable podcast show. I hope you enjoy, and we'll go from there.
It's time for the Fantasy Grill with Anthony K. Here on
The best part,
Firedup
so
Network.
my son always wants to talk sports and stuff, right? But he's basketball. My daughter came down yesterday and she said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, I was recording Crunching the Numbers. So I do this, the Fantasy Grill, the Fantasy Gods every other week. welcome. But I also do Crunching the Numbers, where I go through, like, in the NFL. Here's against the spread. Here's the numbers. Road dogs are winning 37%. Home dogs are 61%. And we go through those numbers, and then I make like 5 or 6 of the like biggest games I make picks.
Yeah.
And then if you go to like sports_fluent, I'll make all the picks. Or people will ask me, what do you think on this game? And I kind of give them FYI, my friend who's a surgeon hits every Sunday morning and he's, what do you think of these bets? And I'm like, pick that, you're good there, change this. And I was 5 for 5 for him last week. So Vin, send me that commission check.
Send the cash.
Send me that commission check, Vin. That being said, so my daughter came down, she made 5 picks. And at the end of it, she said,
Now you're more fluent.
so I had to record it because now that's my new.
Now you're more fluent.
The guys are going to love that on Gridiron.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get them with that tonight. So obviously we were with Justin, who you all know from the Fantasy Gods, who I'm now saying from the chest here on the Fired Up Network.
Got to.
We got a lot of stuff going on. And so we're going to talk about some real football. Or we're going to start with real football and how that affects some fantasy football. We're going to talk about the return of, as we like to call him on Gridiron, Mr. And then some other stuff, how to win your fantasy playoffs. So let's start there. So we got Niners and Dolphins. The return. I wish I should get that. It's the return. Oh no, wait, I'm just kidding. Of Mike McDaniel versus San Francisco. Real football side.
Yeah.
Is San Francisco the new favorite in the NFC?
I don't know how you can't say they are. Philly obviously is up there still, but the Niners look locked and loaded right now. This team full of weapons after losing offensive genius in Mike McDaniel, after losing some of their running backs to this Miami Dolphins team. Retooled, and the defense looks amazing. The offense is going to be fire as well with Christian McCaffrey there. Obviously, there's an injury to Eli Mitchell for fantasy purposes. So a couple guys you can look at are Tyrion Davis-Price and Jordan Mason are guys that you could look in as, deeper league, 12-man leagues. But I'm just excited for this game, man, because the Dolphins might be a top 2-3 team in the
I was
AFC.
about to say, like, this. If you think about it, this could be. There's no reason to think this couldn't be a Super Bowl preview.
It very well could. Now, I think there's a guy in Kansas City.
There's a couple of obstacles.
Might have something to say about that. But this Dolphins team's legit, and with Tua at their own, he's played full games. They're undefeated right now. And this Dolphins team, offensively, they're very scary. Now they got Bradley Chubb. The defense is going to get better. This very well could be a Super Bowl preview. Would not surprise me if we see protege versus the teacher in Super Bowl.
I think people forget, like, the Niners, when healthy, have a great defense. Yes, they lost Mostert and Wilson, but they replaced him with McCaffrey. And it's healthy. That seems like would you have traded those two guys for Christian McCaffrey?
Oh yeah.
Just. And Jimmy Garoppolo, for all of his flaws, I guess, when he's playing, when he's healthy, they win games. They win games. They find a way. I believe he took him to a Super Bowl already. I know he took him to an NFC Championship game and lost, took him to a Super Bowl. So we know he's capable of taking that team there on the backs of that defense. To your point, Dolphins, the Bills don't look that was the kind of early season pick was the Bills. People forgot about 4 minute, but we've seen the Chiefs lose. Heck, they lost last year to the Bengals. So a team that that didn't have a great defense. It had a middle of the road defense. Offense was firing on all cylinders. Bengals were able to beat them. Miami, I think, maybe a better defense than the Bengals did last year. That offense, you have two. If Tua doesn't get hurt, you have 2 MVP candidates in Tua and Tyreek Hill on that offense.
Tyreek Hill, they're going to be a problem because it's the speed. You can't, when you have Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle on the outside. Like, those are 2 of the fastest players in the league. And Raheem Mostert is one of the fastest, it might be the fastest running back in the league. And when you have that kind of speed, it throws things off.
He's healthy, right? Gesicki's healthy.
Gesicki,
he's a fast tight, like, he's one of the faster tight ends too. There's a lot of speed there.
There is a lot of speed. So a lot of people had a lot to say about Tua's arm, but that doesn't really matter when you can get these guys into space and get them just on the run. Let them do the work. Let the speed do the work. And I think Mike McDaniel's done a really good job of that. This will be a very matchup. Seattle back. I could see Miami winning the game.
It's interesting, the Tua arm thing, which I think he's shown he can throw the deep ball better than most people thought. But I think people also forget the average, like, air yards of a pass is like 7-8 yards. It's not, those deep passes that we love to see, 60-yard bomb, but how often is it in the air that long? It happens. I get it. But he's so accurate on the shorter passes, to your point, with that speed, you get them in space, you're in trouble. So if you had to make a pick, your Niners, who I see in the background, are you picking against them?
I think the Dolphins win this game, and it's not for the fact that I think that they're just a better team. I have to see them lose. I haven't seen them lose with Tua at the helm. We haven't even seen it be particularly close. It's like the one game where they were down by 3 scores, they came back instantly. So I got to see this Niners offense clicking 100%. Christian McCaffrey's a little bit banged up. Jimmy Garoppolo has to be able to put up points because his Dolphins team's going to put up 30 plus, even on the tough Niners defense. I got to see it. I got to see the Dolphins go down, and I'm probably in the minority here. A lot of people probably expect the Niners to win this game, but I kind of expect the Dolphins to win this game.
I'm actually going with 305 Miami. All right. Fantasy implications. So you mentioned already with Eli Mitchell being out, there's a couple of running backs. The obvious, right? You're going to start Tariq Hill. You're going to start.
Right.
Is there anybody on either side that maybe is a little flying under the radar that you're expected to be like, oh, you know what? If you're, I'm in some deeper leagues, right? 12 team kind of thing. I'm by the way, my guillotine league. I'm there. I'm still in. Even without the 2 QBs, I've been patchworking my QBs.
Sometimes all that matters just being there.
I'm there. It's a guillotine league. So and I've actually been first over the last 3 weeks, which doesn't matter. It's not last. You don't get eliminated, but I'm just like first. So that's good. So is there anybody kind of under the radar that we should be like, you should maybe, if you're in one of these deeper leagues, there's still a couple buys this week.
Yes. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I want to touch on it a little bit more. Tyrion Davis-Price is the guy I think has a role for this team. Left Sunday's game a little bit banged up. And so when I hear that, I'm like, okay, Christian McCaffrey, we've seen this before. He's been known to miss a game or two, and especially with fantasy playoffs on the horizon, you want to have his back in a team that run ball with not one specific running back, right? Tyrion Davis-Price was the team's 3rd-round draft pick, was getting carries early in the season until he got hurt. And then the trade, right? The trade to get Christian McCaffrey, the expected return of Eli Mitchell soured his value a little bit. We saw Jordan Mason on the field last Sunday. But the reason I don't think that matters is because they needed him for special teams. He was the last running back left, and that's why we saw him get those 2 carries. Whereas Tyrion Davis-Price is more of a bell cow, a guy that can take 15 to 20 touches. So if you're in a 12-man league or deeper and you're kind of looking for options that could be helpful, Shanahan's known to run with both backs. And if Christian McCaffrey is banged up, this is setting up not Tyrion to at least have a role as a flex, maybe even more.
So is he, I don't know much about him. So is he going to take some of those goal line kind of opportunities away? Or can he receive out of the back? Is he going to be like Mike Davis was last year when he took over when he took McCaffrey was like, didn't miss a beat in fantasy?
No, he's more of a bruiser. He's a bruiser, and they'll use Christian McCaffrey, I think, more exclusively in the passing game. Tyrion Davis-Price isn't as much of a pass catcher as he is a battering ram. Think Ryan Robinson. Think some of those guys. They get 15 carries, but like 60 yards on the ground. Not going to
touchdown dependent, right? If we're looking, okay.
Very touchdown dependent. So he's a guy that's more of a depth piece than he is an absolute stud or a starter. But he's out there and he's probably free. He probably missed a lot of the waiver stuff that went on Tuesday.
Okay. So speaking of the waiver stuff, so let's jump to that. Waivers, obviously, if you missed, who are some of those guys that, hey, let's say a dummy league where they're not, they miss their waiver opportunities. Heck, some of them are in fab, or at this point, some of them just don't have money left. So some people slip through the cracks. Who were some of those guys that you thought were, hey, these are the ones you needed to go after yesterday? That maybe, hey, if they're still available, you should go check them out.
Yeah, I got 2 of them for you. The first one is Jaylen Warren. We saw Najee Harris get banged up, and we're still not we don't know what's going on with Najee Harris. There hasn't been an upgrade as of today. Obviously, when you and I are talking, there's a lot of uncertainty whether this is a week thing, this is something that keeps him out for a few weeks, or something that could potentially be a season-ending injury for Najee Harris. And Jaylen Warren was the backup running back for the entire season up until he got hurt 2 weeks ago. So with Jaylen Warren on the shelf, we did see Anthony McFarland. We saw Benny Snell do pretty good against this Colts team, right? But if Jaylen Warren's healthy, he's the guy for this team. Mike Tomlin's already said they needed to get him more involved. He could be a sneaky add there for you at the running back position. And then at tight end, which has been a graveyard. You don't even want to start any of these tight ends outside of the top 5. If you have one of these fringe guys on your team, the Greg Dulcich, the Evan Ingrams, the Austin Hoopers of the world, take a look at Jelani Woods. 64% of the snaps for Indianapolis Colts, had 8 catches for 90 yards. It may not be a rock-solid play, but Jeff Saturday is playing him. He's a rookie. Matt Ryan loves size. He's 6'7", and we've seen him used in the red zone.
I was going to ask you, is he like 6'10" or something? Because I saw him catch a pass on the last game, and as he got up, like the DBs stood up, and then he stood up, and I was like, why is he still standing up? It was just like
he's a monster,
towering over them. Yeah.
He's a monster. He's 6'7", and they took him in the 3rd round. It's not like he had low draft capital. His team invested and took a 3rd round draft pick in him. So Jelani Woods, man, if he's out there in a world full of tight end graveyards, he could be a dart throw for this rest of the season.
Yeah, if you don't have really just Travis Kelce, if you don't have Kelce, like you should be looking. I got
5. I have 5 tight ends that I trust. It's Kelce, Kittle, Mark Andrews. We're going with David Njoku, right? And then the last one, there's one more I can't think of off the top of my head. I kind of trust. Outside of that, it's a dart throw every single week.
That's why I struggled so mightily when I lost Andrews.
Oh, TJ Hawkinson was the other one.
TJ Hawkinson, right. All right, so Jelani Woods, I like that one. I actually stashed, it's interesting, on one of my leagues, I had to drop Warren because I had stashed him, but I had some injuries, I had to make some moves. And so I dropped him. And then once I saw, and he was inactive last week, and I thought, so even when I saw Najee get hurt, like, okay, Odell went to Snell, so I'm fine. I said, do I look to repick him up? But in my other league, like my important league, my big money league, I have him stashed. So I was like, I hate to say happy, but I'm like, all right, I kept him. So I was happy that I kept him, not happy that anyone got hurt.
And it's good because, he might not even play this week, but this is more of, in fantasy, it's easy to think I have to win this week or I have to do whatever it takes to get this week done. But in fantasy, you want to think a little bit more long-term. Fantasy playoffs, it's really 3 weeks that matter. So if he's healthy by week 15 and he's getting the bell cow share there in Pittsburgh, things are trending up for your team.
All right, so we're going to talk about the fantasy playoffs. But first, Mr. Deshaun Watson. Could he return at a better week or a worse week? Returns versus the Texans. I've been told about a dozen of his accusers will be in the stands. I don't know if that's good or bad, be it from a real life that's not good for real life, but from we'll strictly talk about fantasy. From a fantasy perspective, are we waiting in? Because I got him in 2 of my leagues. He's just sitting there. Is he a start? Is he a let's see what he does? Like, are you excited versus Houston thinking he's going to come out and give his best, or is it, hey, he's going to be rusty, they're going to be up to play him, even though there's no reason for them to be up to play him? And hey, just see what he does week 1 and give him a break.
The schedule makers were not playing around. They said first game in
random
Houston,
Aunt Patootie, I believe is what they used to say.
There ain't no way in hell this game was random. First game back, Deshaun Watson's going to be playing against Houston, and it's in
Houston, right?
In Houston, like you mentioned, with the accusers there. So there's a lot that could go wrong. There's a lot that could go right for Deshaun Watson. When it comes to fantasy, I think this is a time, if you've been rocking with the quarterback that's a top 10 to 12 option, keep them in your lineup. A Joe Burrow, a Dak Prescott, these guys that were at the back end of the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks, they're the starts for you this week. Deshaun Watson has been off of football for 2 years. He has not practiced a lot with the team. Just recently, he was allowed to practice. This is also a brand brand new team for him. He hasn't been in an NFL game with any of these weapons as he was in Houston. So to me, this is more of a wait and see approach. It's week 13. Unless you're absolutely desperate for a win, I don't see him putting in a 300-yard game or 70 yards rushing. It's not going to be that for this team. It's not like he was in Houston where they needed him to air it out all the time. This is a run-based football team that's trying to make the playoffs, and I think they stick to that. So when I look at Deshaun Watson, to me, he's a bench. If you have somebody that's, questionable, a Russell Wilson, a Tannehill, that's fine. Go ahead and start Deshaun Watson over those guys. But if you got Tua, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Dak, like more of those rock solid options, keep them in your lineup. Let Deshaun show you that he can be a top 5 to 7 option before you put him in your lineup.
Right. But like, let's say you had Justin Fields and you weren't able to trade him away as you were trying to do, and now he's hurt.
Yeah.
Hey, go.
It
throw him in there, right?
He might not even be playing this week. So
that's what I'm saying. You gotta throw Watson in there.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Like, do you expect like a 10-point game, a 20? I'm clearly talking fantasy because it is against the Texans. It's not like they're any good.
I expect him to run one in because he's going to want to celebrate by himself. So I could see Deshaun Watson kind of getting a lot off his chest, kind of like we saw Cam Newton his first game back, where he ran one in. I think Deshaun Watson runs one in, takes whatever in from that Houston crowd. But I think he's somewhere around the 200 to 250 passing. I don't really see him having a huge passing day. This team, like I said, is a run-based team. I can see him having maybe 2 touchdowns. So more of an average performance with some rushing upside. I can see him having a top 15 quarterback day. I don't really see a top 5 to 10. Like, I don't see that.
I disagree. I think he's gonna have a top 10 performance.
Showing out, huh?
I think he's gonna be motivated, and it's because of his legs. I think to your point, I think this is gonna be a run heavy game plan from a real football standpoint. Obviously, you got Nick Chubb. You're gonna be so worried about them. I know he's got Amari Cooper, but I think to your point, I think there's gonna be some rust, some timing issues. So I think when I've seen quarterbacks who are rusty. And he's not rusty from an injury. So I don't feel like he's not going to be nervous about taking a hit. I think he's going to be more nervous about, can I make that throw? Forget it. There's a lane. I'm taking it. So I think he's going to rush a lot more than people expect. I think he's going to run in. I think he's going to run 2 in. And if I'm looking at QBs, it's not like the QBs have been killing it this year. I feel like numbers are down for all QBs. So why top 10? I think absolutely. Plus, Kyler Murray's on a bye. There's a couple of buys too of those guys. So I think he has that opportunity. He's got that upside. And maybe I'm talking into it because I know I'm starting
manifesting it, right?
Yeah. It's like, what's his name? What's the dad, the big baller brand? What's the name?
LeVar.
LeVar.
I told you so.
I'm speaking it into existence. Deshaun is the best quarterback in the league. Let's not forget, he was a top 2-3 quarterback before all of this happened. So
I think next year we can see him back in that top 5. But it's for this year fantasy purposes. It does take quarterbacks some time to get the oil running in their engine. It takes some time to adjust to a new playbook. When you're talking about making adjustments, calling audibles, he hasn't played football in 2 years. Like I get that he's a great quarterback. I just think it's next year. This year I would expect more of a back end QB1 high end QB2 type of range.
Is he going to be, so we talked about this, and this is our last thing, because fantasy playoffs are coming, right? Like most people are week 14, week 15. We're here. We're a week or 2 weeks away probably from most people's fantasy playoffs. Is he or is somebody else, or let's start with him. Is he a key to winning fantasy this year? And if not him, who were those? I think you said last year was like Rashad Penny out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Who are those guys that's like, if you can find a way, or if you have them, these are the guys that are going to at least give you a chance at winning your fantasy playoffs? Because really, let's be honest. I always tell them, I started off, the PC Gridiron League. I started off like 5-0, 6-0, and I've gone like 3-3 or 3-4 over the last few weeks. But I lost Cooper Kupp. Justin Fields, my quarterback, got hurt, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm in the playoffs. And that's what matters. I think I'm in second place right now. All I care about is the playoffs. I don't care about I am the Bulls, the Lakers during their heyday. It's just like, whatever. I don't care what's the play. Then we'll turn it on. Who are those guys that we need to win? Because this is when it matters.
It does matter. And, you talked about Deshaun Watson being that. I'm not sure that he is, but he's a guy that has the upside to be. And then fantasy playoffs is really what you want. You want guys who have the upside to be weekly starters for you. depth isn't as important anymore now, right? Bye weeks are gone. A lot of the injuries that have happened have already happened. So what I do during fantasy playoffs is you can't really pick out Rashad Penny. It doesn't happen. The opportunity has to be there. You can't pick out Jeff Wilson, who last year was a game changer. Tony Pollard, like these guys come. A lot of times it depends on the injuries. So what I'm doing right now is I'm stashing these running backs. I'm stashing guys that have potential to be elite talent for you starter wise. It's tougher with wide receivers. But if a running back goes down, and Khalil Herbert is now coming off of IR, he could potentially be a league winner. If McCaffrey happens to have a 2 to 3 week injury, now we're talking about Tyrion Davis-Price. So it's really about maximizing your waiver wire right now, getting guys like Jaylen Warren, getting guys that could thrust into a running back one spot and be a serviceable start for you. So when we talk about quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson's that type of player. Hopefully Justin Herbert hasn't been dropped in your league. Lamar Jackson, these guys have fantastic fantasy playoff matchups. But what you're really looking for right now, league winning type talent. Jelani Woods, a guy that if he's getting 5 to 6 catches in a game at tight end, could be the next best thing for your roster. So that's what I'm looking for. True league winners are guys that have opportunity right in front of them. The door is just not all the way open yet.
So I want to just end on this. Actually, yeah, I'm going to end on this question, then we'll tell everybody where they can find you guys. So let's say you got Justin Fields and Joe Burrow. Let's just say. When the fantasy playoffs start, if Justin Fields is available, are you taking that upside, or are you sticking with the sure kind of the higher floor of Joe Burrow?
Yeah, so in the fantasy playoffs, I play to win. And so you want to have my gut in fantasy playoffs and where I've been very successful has always been playing the guys with upside. Anybody can have a dud. Joe Burrow can have a dud. Justin Fields can have a dud. But what you can't have happen is Justin Fields going for 35, 40 points on your bench. So you play the guys with upside because you're playing for 1 week. So no matter the matchup, you want to have guys that have better matchups. But at the end of the day, I'm playing the talent that wins, the talent with the most upside. Justin Fields over Burrow would be the play. You got to play fantasy. Big cojones, man.
That is
you got to play.
Not real football, because no one is picking Justin Fields over Joe Burrow.
It's not. But when you got the upside, though, sometimes that matters more so than the actual talent on the field when it comes to fantasy. And you and I both know that real versus fantasy combo is a little bit different.
It's a very different conversation. All right. So the fantasy gods, where can they find you guys? Obviously, you know where to find me, sports_fluent. I'm everywhere, but and you guys are everywhere. By the way, I keep jumping into your TikTok lives. I'm still getting no love, but anyways, whatever.
I have yet to see it, bro. You got to just like get there first in line or come to
I'm on there for like 30 seconds. I drop off. I'm on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, if that makes sense. Anyways. Fantasy gods, tell us again where you guys are at.
Yeah, Fantasy Gods. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. The best place to reach us is on TikTok. We answer a lot of questions on there too. Fantasy Gods, GAWDS. You can also find me, Justin Henry, with a 3 instead of an E in my name on all social media platforms. I do a daily show called The Justin Henry Show on YouTube. Make sure you watch.
One last question. Have you heard anything about the return of Cooper Kupp? Will he be back?
It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's 6 to 8 weeks injury. The team only said they wanted to bring him back if they're winning. 3-8. This team is out. Aaron Donald's out for the year. It's a lost cause for Cooper Kupp.
And the Super Bowl champs will not even make the playoffs.
Nah, it's not happening.
That's it. That's it for this week on Fantasy Grill. And now you're more fluent.
Well, thank you to Anthony K and Sports Fluent and the Fantasy Gods here on the Fired Up Network to close out the show. Remember, we'll be back tomorrow with the World Cup update, myself and Carmen Asako, the coach. And just about 10 minutes from now, the Buffalo Bills set for Thursday Night Football in New England against the Patriots. Big game for both teams there. Thank you to Carmen Asako, also to Courtney Riddle, Anthony K with 2 special segments, Fantasy Grill and the Crunching of the Numbers, and of course, Fluent Kids. Can't forget about them. And also Derek Bowles with Unstoppables. He had his friend Ben there. Big things from Derek coming up soon. So, I bid you good night. Go Buffalo, go. Thank you for Team Canada. Glorious ride at the World Cup. Till tomorrow, have a great evening. This is Joseph Pasek saying good night.